The time has come for more DLC. Yes, the next content for Battlefield Hardline, Getaway, is now out for premium members and will be out next week for everyone else. As always, it brings with it 4 maps, new weapons, as well as a new gadget, and you can probably guess by the name what the main focus of the DLC is. It's all about those epic car chases through gorgeous locations. In fact, that's one of the first things you'll notice about this DLC. The maps themselves look fantastic. Pacific Highway with its Californian-esque roads is gorgeous, especially when you're over by the lighthouse looking out over the sea. And this map in particular is great for Hotwire too because of its size, as well as the long highway and dirt tracks connecting in the middle. Something quite interesting is that on this map you can knock over the dead trees and use them to create new paths for yourself, and this is something that we haven't really seen intentionally done in Hardline before. It allows you to get on cabin roofs and other places you normally wouldn't have access to. The next map is Train Dodge, and this one is in a more industrial mountainous area. As the name would suggest, yes, there is a train going through the middle of the level, and Visceral have now made it so that players can actually ride on top of the train, which will make things a lot more interesting for sure. When you play the map on Blood Money, the money pile is actually in a room next to the train tracks in the tunnel, and depending on what team you're on, you can actually use the train to your benefit if it's coming through. You wait for it, jump on the flatbed and let it zoom you out of the tunnel back to your base. It's pretty cool actually. There are lots of jumps set up around this map too, so when you're playing it on the larger modes, expect lots of cars and bikes flying through the air. Could be a great scene for some cool cinematics as well. I like this map quite a lot actually. Industrial areas, old mining tunnels, strip bars. It's got lots of variety and it has it all. It looks good and it plays well too. The next map is Double Cross. This is actually situated right on the US-Mexican border and it certainly looks the part. It's actually one of the biggest maps in the new DLC and will definitely be a good Hotwire map. As well as the border crossing itself, there are some old factories and ruins dotted around. You can also use the smuggling tunnels underground to get between flags. Immigration control will have a field day though, so make sure you don't get caught. Last but not least, we have Diversion. This one surprised me a little bit because I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. This map is very different from the others, and in fact any of the other maps we have in Hardline. It actually takes place underground in the channels of a flood diversion centre. The map overview looks pretty linear, almost like Metro or Lockers, but when you get down to it there are tons of routes to each flag. Lots of tunnels, upper levels as well as lower levels, and there are blast doors that can be locked or opened on almost every point. Players can either close or open the doors from either side, meaning that you force the flow of players to stop even if it's only for a short time. It really does affect the gameplay quite a bit depending on which doors are closed at certain times. There are also the massive flood doors that can be opened and shut, but they take a lot more time to operate. Visually it looks really nice. The industrial theme has been nailed down, and although it's an infantry only map, I thought it worked really well, and as an infantry guy I had a lot of fun here. One thing you certainly can't complain about with this map pack is diversity. A real difference in the maps this time around, and like I said before, visually they are really striking and very well done. As with any of the Hardline DLCs, we also get our next super feature. We've had the masks, then the legendary status, and now competitive matchmaking. Finally, something that we've wanted for such a long time in the game is here, but there is some bad news which we'll get onto in a second. The system is built into Battlelog and will give you the ability to compete in 5 vs 5 based matches with leaderboards, weekly based seasons and map rotations created by Visceral. Imagine if this stuff was in the game when it released. It would have made a massive difference to some of those competitive game modes. It's worth saying that while it's now available to see on Battlelog, it doesn't seem to actually be active just yet, but when it does go live, based on your performance you'll get a ranking, and if you do badly you'll go down, and if you do well you'll go up. Think CSGO and you'll get the gist of it. At the end of every game your skill rating will be recalculated. You start out at the cadet rank and then head all the way up to elite gold captain. Leagues will be offered for premium only players as well as non-premium members. This all sounds fantastic. Finally, we've got what we were asking for at the launch of the game. Some of the modes in Hardline really needed this system when the game launched, but unfortunately it wasn't there, and I fear it's a little too late. Having said that though, the system itself has been developed in the Frostbite engine, and this can only be a good thing for future Battlefield games. It's also available to everyone, not just premium players. Now, onto the bad part. You cannot join with a group of friends on PC. I might have misunderstood that, but as far as I'm concerned, that's how it looks. When they announced the feature, the wording of it was a bit odd. It said, you can play solo or with a squad, console only, and you will be matched against players of similar skill. And because of that, I just wanted to get some clarification, and I tweeted one of the developers on the game, and he confirmed that you can only play as a squad on console and not on PC. Yeah, that's right. It looks like you can only play a 5 vs 5 team-based game mode on your own on PC. And when you say it like that, it doesn't really make any sense at all, and I think personally it's a big mistake. I don't understand the reasons behind this. If you're going to spend the time to produce a matchmaking system for your game, you need to allow people to join with their friends and play, because that's exactly what these 5v5 modes were designed for in the first place. Now, console players will be able to squad up and play in the matchmaking, which is great, but PC players will not. You could argue that, yes, the biggest player base for the game is on console, so it won't be that much of a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a disappointment. Imagine CSGO, where you could never play a game together with your friends. Sure, people play on their own from time to time, but to not have an option to get your friends involved is not how a matchmaking system should be, in my opinion. Hopefully, that's something they'll look into in the future. We also have a new game mode and some new weapons to play with. The new game mode is called Capture the Bag, and it's a variant of Capture the Flag, with a bag replacing the flag, of course. Players can now capture a bag even when the bag they're defending has been taken by the other team, and this was a change made after testing. In terms of the new guns, we've got some specific for the DLC and others that have been added to the base game for everyone. The M5 Navy, the M12S and the AUG Para have all been added in for the mechanic class, as well as a fire axe as a new melee weapon. Those are the DLC specific guns. Then we have the M5SD, the AWS, the RO933M1, the G17 race pistol, the 1887 shotgun, the 388 Recon, the UMP9, M39 EMR, and lastly the SAR-21 that are now available for everyone as new additions. Lastly, the RF jammer will now work inside and outside of vehicles, the RF jammer being the new available gadget to block radio signals. Maybe in Hotwire having a teammate use the jammer in the car will be a godsend to stop C4 and trip mines around you as you're whizzing by. Another great addition is that now we all have access to high tick rate servers for Hardline, just like we do on BF4. If you want to play on a high tick server, you have the option to select it on Battlelog. Awesome to see that now in the game. I mentioned vehicles, and we have some new ones to play with. We've got the import tuner that roughly resembles a Nissan GTR, and because it's a European car, the driver model will in fact be on the correct side of the car. I like that attention to detail. And we also have a limo which has been turned into an armoured version, so you can go pimping out in that thing. Alan Sugar can now read his morning newspaper without the risk of any bullet holes. Nice. Then we have a luxury coupe, which is sort of a supercar replica, maybe a Lamborghini or McLaren mashup. Lastly, a new performance sedan. Overall, the DLC is really good in my opinion. The maps look great visually and play really well. It's a shame about the competitive matchmaking on PC, and also the player numbers on PC are still very low, but I'm sure that console players who still have quite a healthy player base will get a lot of game time out of the new DLC. And there we have it, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the new DLC if you've tried it down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and I'll see you in the next one.